In Genesis 1, we met God as Elohim, the Creator God. He is all we need, He has all we need, and He is doing all that we need done. Then we met God in Genesis chapter 14 as El Elyon, God the Most High God, the God who is supreme, the God who is the final authority, the God who is in control. And we learn to yield our lives to His control and acknowledge and worship Him as El Elyon. We've been now studying God as El Roi, the God who sees. Now that's interesting. Today, as we're dealing with the isolation from the coronavirus and we're dealing with all the issues that come with that, the separation, the shutdown of the schools, the shutdown of almost everything that goes on around us. And matter of fact, I've heard and understand suicides are on the increase, and a lot of stress, a lot of frustration, a lot of fear, and all these things are happening. There is this sense of loneliness that can set into our lives, that can set into our situations, and we can find ourselves really hurting and wondering if anybody cares. Does anybody care about me? Well, when we meet God as El Roi, we're going to see that He is the God who sees us right where we are in every circumstance in our life. Now, we're learning to meet God this way as He reveals Himself by this name in Genesis chapter 16. And we shared yesterday the story of Hagar, Abram's Egyptian handmaid who's pregnant, who's been mistreated by Sarah, who's been abused. She's fled to the wilderness, and now she finds herself all alone, wondering what's next in her life, maybe a sense of hopelessness. And as we look at this in Genesis chapter 16 and verse 7, it says, "The angel of the Lord found her by a spring of water in the wilderness, the spring on the way to Shur. And he said, Hagar, servant of Sarai, where have you come from and where are you going? And she said, I'm fleeing from my mistress Sarai. I am fleeing. The angel of the Lord said to her, return to your mistress and submit to her. And the angel of the Lord said to her, I will surely multiply your offspring so that they cannot be numbered for multitude. And so the angel of the Lord continued to speak to her. And when she left that place, she, in verse 13, so she called the name of the Lord who spoke to her, you are a God of seeing. For she said, surely here I have seen him who looks after me. Have you ever felt like Hagar? Abused, used, mistreated, lonely, to a place of deep desperation. Well, that's when God reveals Himself as El Roi. Now, what we want to look at is about three things over the next few days. The first one today is the eternal scope of God's vision, El Roi's vision. You see, God's attention is on everything all the time. The sweep of His vision moves from eternity past until eternity future. There's absolutely nothing that is outside the scope of God's eyesight at this very, very present moment. Our human language literally fails us to describe the eternal scope of God's vision. His vision is inclusive. That means He sees everything, everything. We think sometimes we can do something under the cover of darkness, and maybe in our minds God won't see it or know about it. But my friend, God's vision is inclusive. Nothing escapes the attention of God, not anything. You've never thought of anything, you've never done anything, you've never said anything that God does not include in His vision. His vision does not only include you on this planet, but His vision includes all the galaxies of His great creation. He is inclusive in His vision. Now, when we begin, as we've said already, to meet God and know God as El Roi, something should change in our life like it did with this little handmaid Hagar. And we're going to see more of that in the next few days. You know, Jesus said, I give unto them eternal life, and they shall never perish. Neither shall any man pluck them out of my hand. My Father, which gave them me, is greater than all, and no one is able to pluck them out of my Father's hand. My friend, if you're in Jesus, I'm telling you, you're in His vision. and He is El Roi, the all-seeing God. Today, let's trust Him as the one who helps us wherever we're at. God bless.